Turn camera on. Why is it? There it goes. There, now it's showing my camera. It wasn't showing it for some reason. It's always the joys of trying to figure out live streaming. You'd think I'd have this this figured out by now, but I don't. So today we're going to be doing chapters 10 through 12 of the Batman and Mr. Freeze SubZero novelization. What happened when we last left off? I think Barbara was on the oil rig, and she was about to get herself pretty screwed up. Things were about to get messy. But yeah, I guess let's just go ahead, jump right into it. There's only one of y'all online, but that's a-okay. We'll get it going. Where were we? Chapter 10. You don't have to chain me up, you creep! A strange smile crossed Mr. Freeze's lips as he snapped the heavy shackle around Barbara's wrist, but his usual cold expression returned as he secured the other end of the 4-foot chain to her bedpost. Barbara yanked fiercely at the chain. It held fast. It held fast. Freeze glared down at her. Try to escape again and I'll chain your feet as well. How can you treat people this way? She screamed. Suddenly, Freeze wheeled around and gave her an icy stare. It's the way people have always treated me, he replied. Nora was the only good thing in my life. I was only using the cryogenic technology I developed for GothCorp to keep her alive long enough to find a cure for her illness. For that, they took everything from me. They destroyed my life as I knew it, forcing me to exist in this SubZero suit. I may never be able to have my own life back, but I will do whatever I must to give Nora back hers. The door clanged shut. Barbara stared after him in stunned silence. After half an hour of trying to break free, Barbara finally stretched out on the bed, her chained wrist sore and bleeding. They didn't show blood in the movie, did they? Lying there in the cold room, she had plenty of time to roll Freeze's words over in her head. He said he'd do whatever he had to bring Nora back. What did that mean? How could he possibly give life back to his wife lying on that slab? And how does he keep me chained up, how does keeping me chained up in this room help Nora? The door to Barbara's room opened. She was surprised to see an Eskimo boy enter with a tray of food. Dinner, he said, sitting the tray on the side table. Who are you? Barbara asked. My name is Kunak. So what's a nice kid like you doing in a place like this? Did Freeze kidnap you too? Kunak gave her an insulted look. No, and I'm not a kid. I'm 12. Oh, okay, yeah, I do remember that line being in the movie. So I guess they did reveal Kunak's age in the movie, which I didn't realize when they mentioned it in the first chapter. Barbara acted impressed. 12, And very handsome. You're kind of cute too, lady, Kunak replied with a charming wink. That back and forth was always kind of weird to me. Kunak puffed out his chest. 13 next summer. So where are your parents, Kunak? Kunak's chest caved back in. They're dead. Oh, I'm sorry, Barbara said, taken aback. Mr. Freeze takes care of me now, Kunak stated firmly. Barbara shook her head in disbelief. Freeze? You've got to be kidding! Kunak cocked his head. You don't like him, do you? It's kind of hard to like someone who kidnaps you, she rattled her shackle, and change you up. Kunak just scowled and lowered his head. He turned to leave, but then stopped and looked back at her. He just wants his wife back. He's not really a bad guy. Barbara made her play. But, Kunak, you know this isn't right. Help me get out of here. I promise I'll do everything I can to help Nora. Kunak shook his head, glancing nervously at the door. He said, Sorry, lady, I can't. Kunak hurried out the door, locking it behind him. That boy says, "Oh, I super don't like that." I assume you're talking about the Kunak and Barbara flirting with each other. It reminds me of like the Queen Amidala and Anakin stuff from like episode 1. It's just, I don't get why there was this thing in the late 90s where it was like 20-something-year-old women flirting with like literal children in movies. I guess there's a like there's no ill will, I guess, in it here, but it still comes off kind of weird. Mr. Freeze stepped away from the door and pretended he'd just come from down the hallway. Kunak started a bit when he saw Freeze's red goggles staring at him. Freeze tried to give the boy a smile. "You won't hurt her, will you?" Kunak asked. Freeze put a gloved hand on the boy's shoulder. "No, of course not." He turned Kunak by the shoulder and led him down the hall. Dr. Belson met them at the end of the hallway. "Your wife's vital signs have stabilized," he said. "We'll be able to start the operation in a couple of hours." "Good," replied Mr. Freeze. He stared off into the distance, his red goggles glowing in anticipation. In the Batcave deep below Wayne Manor, Batman handed the scrap of paper from Belson's study to Alfred. "Run this list..." What was my Batman voice again? "Run this list of..." Is that right? "Run this list of medical supplies through the database and see what you find. I want to know what all this stuff would be used for. Cross-reference it against all likely medical procedures." That's not a good Batman voice. "Very good, sir," Alfred said. He sat in front of the computer and went to work. Then Batman popped the tape from Abergast's answering machine into a state-of-the-art computer-enhanced cassette player. He punched the play button. "So, you'll take care of that, right?" Belson's recorded voice said. Batman adjusted the equalizer controls on the computer, then rewound the tape and played it again. Robin listened carefully. As the bellow of the foghorn preceded Belson's voice, the sound levels on the computer jumped wildly. "That's a ship's foghorn," Batman said. "He's somewhere near the water." But the police have combed every... That's not... I'm out of it today. "But the police have combed every inch of the coast," Robin pointed out. Batman rewound the tape once more. "Listen to it again. There's something else in the background." They leaned in to listen closely. A faint clanging could be heard in the background. "I'll try to enhance it," Batman said. He punched some more buttons to isolate and enhance the sound, then rewound and played the tape. "So, you'll take care of that, right?" repeated Belson's voice. "What's the clanging sound?" Robin wondered. "It sounds like a bell." "Or a buoy," Alfred offered over his shoulder. Batman's head jerked up in realization. "Those are the shipping lanes." Batman went to the computer and brought up a file of digital maps of the area around Gotham City. He scrolled through the maps until he found the one he was looking for. Robin studied it with him. The map showed the Gotham coastline. Half the map was blue ocean, dotted only with water depths and marine objects. Batman found the shipping lanes and tracked one with his finger. He stopped on a small icon. "No wonder the police can't find him on the coast." "Why?" Robin asked eagerly. Batman looked up at him. "Because he's 5 miles offshore, in the middle of the ocean." He pointed to a small icon on the wide blue part of the map. "An oil derrick," Robin said. "An abandoned oil derrick," Batman corrected. They stared at each other. "Let's go!" Robin cried. Alfred's dry voice stopped them. "Pardon me, sir, but I've just completed the research on this list. I found something rather disturbing." "What is it, Alfred?" Batman asked. "It seems these are surgical supplies used in an allograft procedure," Alfred said, the corners of his mouth turning down. Batman looked stricken. "Oh, no," he said softly. Robin felt panic welling up in his gut. "What? What is it?" Batman turned to him. His face was grim. "It's the medical term for an organ transplant." "No!" Robin cried, his face white with shock. I think you'd better hurry, Alfred said. Batman and Robin leaped into the cockpit of the Batwing. The engines and afterburners roared to life as the vehicle rotated on its platform. The doors, which were camouflaged to blend in with the cave wall, opened. Fire roared from the Batwing as it zoomed down the long tiled tunnel. With a blast of engines, it launched into the night, its eerie-shaped silhouette by the moon. The Batman banked it in a sharp turn and headed out to sea. And then they've got a little illustration here of the Batwing flying off, doing its thing. And that's chapter 10. So real quick, I'm going to turn over to the canonicity and timing spreadsheet. So far, we haven't gotten. I just accidentally deleted a whole thing. There it goes. We didn't get any new characters here, or no, why is it doing that? Or anything to make me think that it's not canon. As far as time, we got a confirmation once again that Kunak is 12, and he turns 13 next summer. No pop culture references, no weather references, no other clues. So that's chapter 10. On to chapter 11. You guys are quiet in the chat today. Barbara fell into a fitful sleep. The pale, cold face of Nora Freeze filled her dreams. Ghostly mist rose all around Freeze's wife. She seemed to rise and float. At one point, Nora appeared to be standing upright, asking Barbara for help. The sound of a key turning in her shackle awoke Barbara. She sat up with a start, expecting to see the mist. Instead, she found Dr. Belson towering over her, holding the end of the chain that had been connected to the bedpost. "Miss Gordon," he said in an oddly formal voice, "we're ready to begin." Barbara gripped to the bedstead and refusing to budge. "Well, I'm not." Where does that put Kunak's birth date? Let's see. We said in that one vanishing point that Mr. Freeze started up in 1995, I think it was. So that puts this between 1995 to 1997. So Kunak would have been born between 1983 to 1985. Do a 30 seconds ranking of all the DCAU intros. I might do that. Let me get through this chapter, and then we'll talk. Oh, there's another nice little illustration. Barbara gripped the bedstead, refusing to budge. "Well, I'm not." Mr. Freeze stepped into the room behind Belson. His icy weapon was trained on Barbara. Keeping one hand on the chain, Belson used the other to take a long hypodermic needle from his lab coat pocket. "I'm afraid you have no choice," the doctor said, squirting a bit of liquid from the syringe. With a swift yank, Barbara pulled the chain out of his hand. She swung it over her head like a mace, then slung it at Belson. It struck the syringe, shattering it. Belson cried with pain and clutched at his hand. "Grab her," Freeze ordered. Barbara stood up, swung the chain over her head again, and aimed at Belson. He ducked out of the way just in time. As she got it swinging again, Freeze took aim at the whirling chain. His shot was on target. The chain froze solid. The loose end, now encrusted with ice, broke on the bed frame and flew to the wall, where it smashed into shards of metallic ice. Barbara stared at the remains of the chain in surprise. Belson lunged for her. He pinned her by her arms, while Freeze took hold of her legs. "No!" Barbara cried, but it was too late. She could not escape the grip of the powerful men. They carried her kicking and screaming down the hallway toward the operating room. As they passed Kunak's room, his door opened a crack. Kunak peered out, rubbing his eyes at the commotion. "You're hurting me!" Barbara wailed. Kunak stared wide-eyed after her. "Get her inside the operating room," Belson said as they passed through a door. Terrified, Barbara saw that she was entering the mist-filled laboratory. Nora lay on her slab. Barbara kicked even harder, but Freeze's grip was too strong. He pinned her to an operating table next to Nora. "Let me go!" Barbara cried. Belson picked up a gas mask attached to a hose, which led to a small tank. He opened a valve on the tank. Barbara watched with horror. You don't need to put me under for a blood transfusion, she said in a tense voice. She saw Belson glance up at Freeze. Freeze just stared down coldly at Barbara. The gas hissed as it started coming out of the tank. And then we got this neat little illustration. I'm hoping it's it's in frame. There we go. Look at that. We got Nora, we got Belson, we got Freeze, we got Barbara. It's just a nice happy family photo, pre-surgery family photo. It's more than that, isn't it? Barbara said. Tell me. Belson didn't answer. Hold her. Oh, that's my very bad Freeze voice. And that went to Belson. Hold her, he said to Freeze as he came at her with the gas mask. He did all he could to clamp it over her mouth. She shook her head frantically from side to side in an effort to pull away from the gas. How can you do this? She demanded fiercely. Freeze pinned her harder. Barbara looked into his eyes, hoping beyond hope that she could awaken some human feeling. Freeze just glared back at her icily. And then his head snapped up at the sound of a voice in the doorway. Kunak stood there, trying to comprehend the scene. What are you doing? He asked accusingly. You promised not to hurt her. Oh, the pose of Barbara with her knees up as Freeze is trying to slam her down on the table. So it's a little wild. Barbara felt a wave of gratitude at the boy's words. Kunak, get out of here, Freeze ordered sharply. Kunak ignored him. He ran toward Belson, yelling, Stop it! Belson held up an arm to ward the boy off, but Kunak dodged around him, heading for the source. The hose that led from the gas tank to the mask. Belson swatted at Kunak's hand, but missed. Kunak pulled the hose free. Get away! Belson cried, shaking with wrath. Are you cooking an entire meal right now?
It's just broccoli with some chicken. That's it. It's almost done. I'm so sorry.
You didn't ask me if I wanted food?
You're like live streaming.
But I mean, it's going to be dinner time after this for both of us, isn't it?
I made enough rice whenever you're done, and then we can just get some more broccoli. I'm so sorry. I love you.
Get away! Belson cried, shaking with wrath. He grabbed Kunak by the shirt, lifted him 3 feet off the ground, and hurled him across the floor. Freeze looked at Kunak, his face showing a mixture of concern and anger. Barbara saw the opening and took it. She drew up her feet and planted them squarely in Freeze's chest. Oof! Freeze gasped as he flew backward into the monitor board, taking with him the tubes and wires hooked up to Nora. Sparks flew from the machines. Nora! Freeze cried. Barbara leaped to her feet. As Belson tried to get at her from across the opening table, she lifted the table and pushed it over onto him. He fell backward, astounded by her strength. She bolted for the door. Belson scrambled out from under the table and opened a drawer. Taking a pistol out, he growled to Freeze. I'll get her back. Freeze didn't reply. Nora! He sobbed. He frantically began to reattach the tubes and wires of his wife's machine. Barbara started down the hallway, only to come face to face with Shaka and Nachka. They reared and growled, baring their teeth. She whirled around, spied a set of stairs, and dashed up them 2, 3 at a time. They led to the open deck of the oil platform. The bears came racing after her. Giant fuel tanks loomed on all sides. Directly above her was a catwalk that connected 2 tanks. Barbara crouched, then in a single acrobatic spring, soared up 5 feet to grab a rope hanging from the catwalk. She climbed the rope 30 feet to the catwalk and swung over the railing. The bears skidded past the spot where she had just been standing. They growled and snapped at the air, but they couldn't reach her. Suddenly, a shot rang out. Barbara ducked as the bullet hit the tank next to her. Black oil spurted out in front of her face. Barbara stared at it in shock, then looked down to see Belson running toward her, her pistol in hand. Stop shooting, you idiot! That was supposed to be Barbara. Stop shooting, you idiot! she yelled at him. These tanks are filled with oil! You'll blow us all up! Belson aimed the gun at her. Calm down! Now! Is my girlfriend a new god? Probably not. No, you don't know what a new god is.
I don't know what a new god is.
It's fourth world stuff, like Darkseid and Orion and all that. You don't know who they are. I just told you the other day who Darkseid is.
Yeah, you're right.
Can't believe you.
Whatever.
You're disappointing the fans. Barbara made a break for it. Crouching low, she ran along the catwalk to another fuel tank. Belson fired again and again. The bullets ricocheted above and below her. Barbara stayed low and kept going, following the catwalk as it circled the tank. Belson chased her around to the other side. Barbara raced along the catwalk, and then she stopped abruptly. The catwalk dead-ended. She gasped in surprise at the plunge below her. The catwalk had circled up too high on the tank for her to jump, and she had nowhere else to run. Belson was directly below her now. He had a clear shot. Barbara turned around to face him, her eyes wide with fear. Belson just smiled. That's the end of chapter 11. Wow, we're already almost done for the day. What the heck? These chapters are getting a lot smaller as the book goes on, I guess. So 30-second ranking of all the DCAU intros. Obviously, Zeta Project's number 1. Static Shock is number 2. Batman the Animated Series is number 3. Then it goes Justice League Unlimited. What else is left? Just Justice League and the new... No. Batman Beyond is above Justice League Unlimited. Then Justice League Unlimited. Then Justice League. And then Superman the Animated Series. That's canon. That's it. That's the way it goes. There was really nothing in chapter 11 to put into the notes. I'm thinking after I'm done with this for the day, I'll put the next poll up on Twitter for the next book. That way I can announce the winner when we finish the book up next week. But we're on chapter 12 of 15, so this one's almost done. What about the new static intro? Oh yeah, there were 2 static intros, weren't there? I'm trying to remember. There was the criminals get twisted. That's the good one. The Little Romeo one's the better one. It sucks. Are you saying the Little Romeo one sucks? Maybe you're wrong. I'm. Let's see. The first one was the gotta beat superhero, right? And then the second one was the criminals get twisted, all that stuff. I don't remember. I like the Little Romeo one. That being said, on to chapter 12. If y'all got anything to drop into the the chat or anything, go ahead and do that. After I finish chapter 12, I'll go grab the new books that I got. That way I can show them to you guys. And then we'll do like a chit chat. And then after that, I'll put the poll up on Twitter for whatever the next book will be. It's not going to be this one. That's still in its case. As the Batwing came down out of the clouds, Robin pointed. There it is, the oil platform. He took in the scene through a pair of night vision binoculars. The platform was crowded with oil tanks, heavy machinery, and cranes. As he lowered his gaze to the bottom of the structure, he said, "Someone's there, all right. A motorboat is tied to one of the pilings. Suddenly, he sat bolt upright, startled. Wait a minute, there's Barbara! Hang on, Batman answered. The Batwing plunged into a steep dive. Robin peered around the binoculars as he watched Belson chase Barbara along the catwalk. Robin flung off his safety belt in anger. Hurry! He urged. Batman flipped a switch. He and Robin were jarred in their seats as the wings of the aircraft rotated 90 degrees. Get ready, Batman said tersely. Belson lifted the pistol and slowly cocked the hammer. Barbara could see that he no longer cared whether she were dead or alive for the operation. He simply wanted revenge on her for resisting him. Suddenly, a tremendous wind nearly knocked both Belson and Barbara off their feet. The loud whine of an engine roared in her ears. Belson's jaw dropped as the Bat-Wing rose from below the deck of the oil platform. It hovered 10 feet above him, its wings vibrating with a deafening noise. Robin was already on the wing. He came screaming through the air, making a flying tackle on Belson just as the doctor turned to run. Both men slammed hard to the deck. Belson's gun hand hit first, and the weapon fired. The bullet pinged off the steel girder near the leaking oil tank, its sparks igniting a pool of oil that had seeped from the tank. A small flame sprang up. It grew and spread quickly. Belson lay unconscious on the ground. Robin got to his feet, then called up to Barbara. "Are you all right?" Barbara just pointed behind him. "Look out! You gotta leave." That's okay. The whole thing will be up, for you to catch the rest of. So it'll be all right. The flames raced along a stream of oil that led back to the tank. For a moment, all Barbara and Robin could do was watch in horror and disbelief. The flames hit the tank. Barbara and Robin ducked, shielding their faces. The tank erupted with a tremendous roar. A fireball exploded into the sky. The entire deck of the platform was rocked by the blast. The flames spread to a smaller tank nearby, and it began to burn as well. Robin leaped to his feet and kicked open a glass case containing a fire hose. Just as Barbara got up to run back down the catwalk, the smaller tank blew. Again, the platform was rocked. The explosion ripped Barbara's catwalk from the side of the tank. She tumbled head over heels along with the rest of the catwalk as it plunged toward the deck. She managed to grab a railing and cling to it as the remains of the catwalk swung out over the deck. The flames were spreading rapidly toward her, making it impossible to drop to the deck. She searched frantically for a way out until her eye caught a set of metal ladder rungs on the oil tank. Using what was left of the catwalk like a pendulum, she swung back to the tank. She grabbed the rungs and began to climb the flames licking at her feet. Meanwhile, hold on. Before I get to the meanwhile, there's another illustration. There you guys go. The explosion. There's Robin. There's Barbara up there, doing their thing. Barbara's like a stick figure. Are you still traumatized about a golden opportunity? We're talking about actually doing a book report kind of show over on the main YouTube channel. Just depending on like what my schedule is and everything. And so the first one for that will definitely be me going back over Golden Opportunity. It was a hell of a book. That's for sure. All right, we got 3.5 pages left before the chapters are done. Meanwhile, Robin was cranking open the water valve for the fire hose. A roar from behind made him spin around. It was Shaka. Robin backed away. As he stepped back, he tripped and fell over the hose. He crawled backward across the tangled hose as fast as he could, but the bear was closing in on him. It let out a growl and went in for the kill. Suddenly a whoop, whoop, whoop cut the air. The bear stopped in his tracks, inches away from Robin's throat. As a black cord wrapped itself around the animal's neck, Shaka strained against it, but Batman held the other end of the cord, pulling it until the line was taut. Another roar made Batman look back over his shoulder. Notchka's fangs were bared. Robin quickly rolled away from Shaka and opened the water valve the rest of the way. As water surged into the fire hose, bringing it powerfully to life, Robin managed to point the nozzle at Notchka. A blast of water drove the bear back from Batman. Shaka jumped back too, startled by the gushing stream. Too powerful for Robin to hold any longer, the high-pressure nozzle flew out of his hands. The hose flailed wildly, mesmerizing the bears. Robin scrambled away from the hose and joined Batman. The bears roared angrily, then attacked the flailing nozzle. Batman and Robin made a run for it, but once the beast had ripped the hose to pieces, they galloped across the deck after the two men gaining on them quickly. Batman and Robin scrambled atop a large stack of long, thin metal pipes. They each grabbed one and used it to ward off the bears. Growling and snapping, the bears swiped at the pipes from below. Batman looked over at Robin as he wielded his weapons against Shaka. You got any ideas? Or, you got any ideas? Sure, Robin replied. He lowered his pipe and pointed a stern finger at the bears. Sit! The bears stopped. They looked at each other for a moment. They looked back at Batman and Robin. Their mouths opened and they bared their teeth. With angry growls, they resumed their attack. That was a big help, Batman remarked, doing everything he could with the pipe to keep the bears at bay. The bears were gaining ground. As the other pipes rolled out from under them, Batman and Robin climbed higher and higher on the stack. Their weapons would soon be useless. Over the top, Batman shouted. Go! Robin answered. Just as the bears reached the top of the stack, Batman and Robin leaped straight into the air. They planted their metal pipes on the ground below and used them to pole vault over the bears. The animals craned their necks in surprise as the two crime fighters flew overhead, landed, and took off running. Shaka and Nachka wheeled and went after them, roaring. Batman and Robin raced across the deck of the platform, looking for refuge from the enraged bears. Suddenly, they ran out of deck. They skidded to a stop, their toes coming right to the edge of the platform. Below them was a stomach-churning 200-foot drop. They spun around. The bears were charging them at full speed, their red mouths wide open and drooling. There was nowhere left to run. Batman and Robin looked at each other. Then they looked down over the edge. With a single glance, each knew what the other was thinking. Each man got his back foot set. Wait, Batman said. 10 feet, 5 feet. Shaka and Nachka were upon them. The bears made their leap to attack. Now! Cried Batman. Batman and Robin hopped backward and disappeared over the ledge. The bears shot through the air, right past the spot where Batman and Robin had just been standing, and plunged toward the ocean. Clinging by their fingertips to the ledge of the platform, Batman and Robin watched the bears plummet 200 feet. From that height, the splashes appeared small. The two crime fighters pulled themselves back up to the platform. Gazing down into the ocean, Batman saw the bears' heads bobbing in the waves. A shout from Robin made him look back up. Barbara! His partner said. The two men sprinted back toward the fuel tanks. That's the end of the chapter. And we got one more illustration. It's the bears coming for Batman and Robin, doing their thing. But yeah, so that's the end of the chapters for today. We got through them in like 30 minutes. So that's forgot to ask, how was week 1 for your girlfriend's new job? Hey, babe! They want to know how week 1 was for your new job. You've only done 1 day so far, right?
Yeah, I've only done 1 day, but when I left, they said I did an amazing job. So I guess everything's good.
Okay, well, awesome. You don't have to hold on. I was telling them to hold on. I was just going to grab and show the new books. Yeah, so she says that the 1 day went well, so that's good. Her next day, I think, is tomorrow. So it'll hopefully it continues to stay good. But for the couple of you that are here, in case you didn't see it in the Discord or or on Twitter, I did just get 2 new DCAU books when I went to Goodwill. I think they were like $1 a piece. We got Catwoman's Perfect Plan. It's a Batman and Robin adventure with art by Luciano Vejico. It's gorgeous, It looks like it's set during the new Batman Adventures era, something like that. It's written by Stevens. It doesn't say Stevens who. Oh, it used to be a library book. written by Sarah Hines Stevens and illustrated by Luciano Vejico. And then the other book that I got was the Wonder Woman Power Outage Choose Your Fate adventure book. And the best part is it's written by Michael Teitelbaum, the man who gave us Justice League: A Golden Opportunity. So I'm hoping that Shelby the Smooth Collie shows back up. But who's to say? The art in this isn't as impressive. It's just old Justice League promotional art for Wonder Woman, which, like, cool, I guess. There's like puzzles and stuff in here. I don't understand it. But this will be one of the ones that'll go on the poll on Twitter for whatever our next book is. But yeah, it's just like Wonder Woman art. I feel like the only new art I think is probably the cover, and then I guess that might be a new city. I don't know, but that's a bring back toe art, hippie. This whole I hope this one wins the poll. Just because I don't know how to handle a choose your own adventure book in a live stream setting, but I feel like it'll be very interactive with you guys. But yeah, really, that's all. That's the stream for the day. Did you guys have anything you guys wanted to chit chat about? Anything cool going on in y'all's lives? Does it impact the DCAU if I skip Zeta? I watched the first 16 episodes and it sucked. It doesn't. So there's definitely a lot of sucks episodes, but like there's some episodes that I feel like are really good, but really it doesn't tie much back into the rest of the DCAU. You get Zeta comes back in Batman Beyond for Countdown, but other than that, there's not really much of a connection. I don't know why my copy of Batman Animated is just sitting right here. But yeah, you know, what is did y'all want to keep this going and chit chat a little bit, or I don't know. It doesn't seem there's a lot of people here to chit chat this time, which I was kind of expecting because I was very last second getting the word out on today. I mean, like it's on a constant schedule, but you know, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you know, if nobody's really in the chat right now, I guess I'll call it a day because I am behind on developing the next Vanishing Point anyway, because I've been busy writing scripts for other things that I need to get out in a certain amount of time. So I'm probably just gonna go ahead and you know, call it a day here and go work on Vanishing Point. But it was fun chit-chatting with you guys. And we'll do this next week. We'll finish up SubZero, and I will announce the next book. I'm about to hop over to Twitter, put the poll over there. So yeah, it's been a swell afternoon, and I will see y'all next week. And stop.